after. So that is it. So confirmation moved by Member Sibbles and seconded by myself. Oh, you can? Very well, Member Guy. Thank you very much. The matters for discussion this morning has to do with the motion to amend the standing orders to include the terms of reference for the caucus of women parliamentarians. HR is here, the legal counsel. Can you take us through the amendments, Madam?
Certainly, Madam Chair, through you. The amendments to the standing order, it's actually standing order 73F, are as follows. Number 1, 73F1, notwithstanding the provisions of standing order numbers 68.3, sessional select committees, and 76, joint select committees, A, the caucus of women parliamentarians shall consist of the female members of the House to sit jointly with the female members of the Senate. B, the caucus shall elect its own chairman. I do recall the minister changing that to chair during her presentation. C, all female members shall be deemed members of the caucus unless they formally communicate a decision to the chair to withdraw from caucus participation. And D, the quorum of the caucus shall be such as the caucus may decide. 2, the caucus of women parliamentarians shall have the duty of A, reviewing legislation, plans, and programs from a gender perspective to understand their effect on gender equality, equity, and parity, and differential impacts on men, women, and boys and girls. B, receiving submissions from citizens and organizing meetings between citizens, community groups, sectoral organizations, members of parliament, and representatives of and their effect on communities and groups in the society. C, raising awareness on gender equality, equity, and parity, and the importance of women's leadership among all parliamentarians and parliamentary staff. Sorry, are you hearing me correctly? I think I'm going in and out. Okay, sorry. As well as among the general public, including by raising the visibility of women leaders in society. D, facilitating networking, building solidarity, and promoting constructive dialogue on issues of importance among women parliamentarians across party lines and chambers. E, supporting capacity, building across the parliament in gender mainstreaming and gender responsive budgeting and costing, and encourage the application of these tools in parliamentary work. F, providing caucus members with professional development opportunities to further strengthen their leadership and their capacities to participate in the legislative process in a gender responsive manner. G, engaging in advocacy and lobbying on specific policy themes and to be identified on a periodic basis in accordance with national priorities. And H, organizing meetings with relevant organizations in order to seek such information on their activities as the public interest may demand. Those are the amendments that were moved in the House.
Go ahead.
I had promised my friend earlier that I would not delay his departure to go elsewhere, but I'm sure he will facilitate this one intervention. 73F2, so the caucus of women parliamentarians shall have the duty of, and my concern is A, reviewing legislation, plans and programs from a gender perspective to understand the effect on gender equality, equity and parity, and differential impact on men and women and boys and girls. Chair, the word shall there is playing with my mind in terms of, does it mean that all legislation has to go before this committee? Because one can see some issue where if a legislation go before a joint select committee and has been debated and a report sent back to the full house and it not going to the women caucus committee, is it that the house, there would be some breach of procedure? Because I'm thinking that there's a word that is needed to not to remove what it says, but a word that would allow the house to be able to determine what legislation is. Is it all legislation because it said legislation without any abridge or anything to?
I'm going to ask the LC because I don't have a problem with women examining legislation, because for generations only men for years have examined the legislation, regardless of whether I'm talking about gender, women, men, boys. But I do agree with you. I would like to know whether or not it means that if the group does not do, there can be some illegality. I appreciate the point being made.
Oh, I yield to
Yes.
Madam Chair, I do agree with Member Sibley's in respect of this. The truth is that, and I will disagree with the Chair in that for years, because of late we have been seeing in committees examine legislation that there have been female members of the
Yes, recently we have, but for years.
Prior to that, certainly.
Yes, prior to that. We have to accept, you know, this, if that were not so, member, there would be no need and thrust in the world for us to look at committees and things like that, because we want to include.
But I am further in support of the point that the member has made, because every legislation that comes before the House will have an impact on the different male and female. So the word shall puts an additional burden on the committee, and they may be required to meet for every table draft in this House. And I think I will agree with him that there has to be some word, phrase, or something that will distinguish or determine what goes to them. Or we may seek to take out shall and put may.
I want to agree with the point made by Sybil's, and you know, and I just want to make the point, although we are few in numbers, it just so happens that the numbers that we have here, and the two members sitting here are two members who always read and prepare. And it is important. Elsie, I don't know if you can bring some light to this, because I do agree that shall places a particular burden
and onus on even the committee.
Yes.
I do agree with the members. On reading the section, it's clear that it is a duty that is mandatory. So in essence, it can be read to require all legislation to go before the Women's Caucus, which is not necessarily what I believe the caucus intended. So I do agree with the members' proposal to change it to May, which leaves it open where the choice is now left and they can do that. So I don't think it is necessary to go further than that.
Point taken. Thank you very much, Member Sibbles. Any other? Amendments?
Chair, if I may, through you. The issue of virtual or hybrid sitting of the committee was an issue that was brought up after the TOR was drafted, and I think it's something that is necessary, especially in relation to the fact that the standing orders generally does not provide for hybrid sittings. My understanding is that in relation to committees, motions were brought for particular committees to sit in a hybrid fashion, and I believe this is one of those committees that should sit. I do have language here that could be inserted to include the ability for the committee to sit in a hybrid nature, and I do also believe voting rights should be allowed in that hybrid setting. I do leave that
Would
to
you share the wording that you have there so that the members can hear what it is?
Well, Madam Speaker, before she shares it, with other committees, haven't the usual procedure been that the House, for the meetings and the committees, make the adequate provisions? Do we need to include it in this particular standing order? Meaning that in the COVID period,
Yes, in relation to the member's question, it would have to, because the standing orders generally does not provide it, and because of that, you have to then make it clear that this committee has that allowance. So I would just, as the chairman is asking, read the particular sections to be included. Firstly, preserving the rights, powers, and privileges, and please note this is the same language that has been used in previous committees. Preserving the rights, powers, and privileges, including voting rights, normally accorded to a member of a committee. The committee, and I would change that to caucus, is empowered to, 1, convene and hold meetings in virtual spaces created using information and communications technologies, which shall be considered committee meetings for the purpose of the mandate of the committee. 2, allow access and participation from remote locations as are enabled by means of information and virtual technologies by members and other persons authorized by the committee. 3, include members accessing and participating from remote locations as a part of its quorum. 4, receive, consider, deliberate on, and respond to feedback and submissions in formats, modes, and media, and via platforms, modes, and media enabled by means of information and communications technologies from any person. And 5, consider any and all information generated, communicated, and received via formats, platforms, modes, or media as enabled by means of information and communications technologies as forming a part of the record of these committee meetings. This would be included as parts 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, each being its own independent sub of the standing orders. Thank you. So we have currently 73F1, 2. It would be 73F3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So my one moment, through you, Chair. My apologies. I need to amend that. When I started, I said preserving the rights, powers, and privileges. That would be the opening part, and I would have that as 3, and the subsections, therefore, would be 3, A, B, C, D, E.
Madam Chair, I have a little difficulty, and I'll tell you why, because I'm using another example. Recently, there was controversy in the public domain in a particular sector of workers who had an online meeting and voted to accept some government, the wage increase. And it was brought to the attention that subsequent to that meeting, that many persons who voted were never online or even part of the process. Now, unless I can be assured that there are proper steps in place, that the necessary safeguards are there for the voting. Grants a small committee, you know, but for voting to take place, that will ensure that the actual person who votes is the person voted and intended to vote for that in that particular direction, then I would have a little challenge there.
My immediate response to you is that as parliamentarians, we are officers of the highest court of the land. And I'm assuming, as I have found, that this would hardly, I can't think of a situation that I have ever heard of before or experienced where a parliamentarian would
No, I'm not referring to the fact that the parliamentarians would be the one to do it, but there would be persons in the cyber, you know, in the cyber arena.
My dear member, this world of technology and cyber, we can never beat it because it has gone way over our heads. I want to tell you that even with the TikTok and all that, the Constitution speaks to the Constitution speaks to free speech. But you know, I have a real difficulty with all the free speech that comes all over that has gone viral. Because when you speak freely, there should be a cap on whether you are speaking truthfully or whether your information is properly grounded. So to be honest with you, I mean, when they can put the head of a person on a body and a voice and put things together, I don't know what, if we don't take hold of ourselves, I don't even know, member Guy, whether or not we can really protect ourselves. You know, they say for every advancement that we make in life, there is a real disadvantage. We advance in this country as in many others by building these wonderful skyscrapers and these wonderful buildings all over. We cut down our trees and do so, and we are left here in Jamaica, like in many other places now, to be planting trees because we are facing a real challenge in terms of climate. So I understand what you're saying, but to be honest, I think it is far bigger than us right now. And it's, you know, I like to think that this generation, and particularly the younger generation that come in, it is their duty to know that they have it is their chance to exercise their right to put a cap on all of what is taking place. Because there, as I say, advancement is wonderful and we move forward and lots of things are happening. But while we do that, there are some old, stable values that will hold and carry us through all ages. So I'm not sure now, in terms, you might have a really important matter to discuss, and yes, we allow for virtual hearings, but if we can't vote on it, maybe we're not going any further. So I don't know. I'm open to your suggestions, whether you think we should put the cap. I really don't know. I'm just throwing out, because I know this cyber age is just more than I can cope with.
Thank you, Chair. The principle of it, I am totally in agreement, but because I have not been given the document and it was read to me, I have this question that I would ask through you, Chair, to the legal counsel. Is the proposed amendment, is it similar to others that were used for other committee? Yeah, for other committees. Is it similar? If it is similar, then I would have no difficulty, because precedent would have been set. But if it is not similar, I would really would like the opportunity to look at it, you know, and to examine it myself in light of all the circumstances and where we are heading to with the whole business of AI.
Thank you very much. Member, I think the members would like to know whether or not the other committees that have allowed for virtual hearings, if they have voting rights as well. Has there been any precedent? And if there are, can you just name one or two for us? Yes. Is it similar to what you're proposing now?
Member, I can satisfy that for you here and now. It is the exact same wording. In fact, I have copies of the motion in front of me here that I read from for the Integrity Commission Act, that committee, same exact wording, and also for the Protected Disclosures Act as well.
For at one.
We just want to be protected.
Just want to be assured.
We want to be protected.
So
it is precedent has been set. So
yes.
We accept it.
So
yes.
We accept the inclusion that the meetings be held virtually and voting has been done.
Thank you.
And the proposed amendments are accepted by us.
Yes, and I just want to make clear there is a slight error in the motion where it says be resolved that Standing Order 73 be amended to incorporate the terms of reference for the Caucus of Women Parliamentarians. We should just remove 73 and just state that the standing orders be amended, because 73 speaks specifically to the Regulations Committee, and we're not amending that. We are adding a new standing order.
You say 73 speaks to the regulations. So we have right up to Standing Order 73 A, B, C, D, E, and now we are having a new 70 E, F, which is a new thing to write, just Standing Order. Point has been taken and accepted.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
So moved, Chair.
Okay. Anything else? No other business? There being no other business, it's now 12:51. This meeting is now adjourned. And I want to thank members Guy and Sybil's and the team, Elsie and her team, for being here with us, the committee clerk and our clerk to the Houses of Parliament. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to seeing you at 2 sharp. Blessings. The draft is going to be prepared and circulated for your signature, and we will, right. Mr. Sybil's did it for us the last time, so in the absence of Mrs. Holness.
It's Tuesday, June 20. In the headlines and local news, tourism operators invited to 2023